Hi and welcome, my dear friends of the underwater world. Actually, after the IDC and the subsequent IE, I am still in the process of finishing the promised video on the topic of diving training or diving education. This time with a focus on specialties, when I came across this topic once again. Flowstops. After at least 2 fatal diving accidents in the recent past and several specialist magazines reporting on them, I would also like to use this channel to shed some light on the subject. After all, these components are designed for safety and are used precisely for that. Some of you will probably ask yourself, what are flow stops? Also known as Free Flow Control Device, FCD. They are installed between your second stages and the medium pressure hose of your regulator set. The purpose of these is to prevent gas flowing in the event of uncontrolled venting. It can look like this, simulated here in shallower water at the end of the dive with enough reserve for the camera. Such a blowout during a dive at great depth with a safety stop still to come can lead to a serious problem. But let's take a step back and clarify why such a situation can arise in the first place. There are 2 common cases. First, icing of your regulator in combination with a fail-safe mechanism, which I already mentioned in my video series on regulator technology, can cause the valve to blow out permanently. The corresponding video is of course linked in the video description. Secondly, the air shower can cause blowing off due to water resistance and strong currents or fast movement using a scooter. Flow stops are designed to remedy these problems. In simple terms, these devices consist of 2 components that are sealed together. Individual holes in the inner part allow the breathing gas to pass through in the on position. Here, the breathing gas leaves the inner part through the hole and is directed back into the inner part behind the partition wall through further holes, thus reaching the second stage. If the snider is set to the off position, the breathing gas is blocked from leaving the inner part. But what is the problem? Tests have confirmed that this function often does not work reliably and that in chaffined breathing gas is supplied both under extreme conditions and in shallow water at depths in the single digits. The results vary between highly fluctuating breathing gas flow rates and a complete interruption of the flow. The reason for this cannot be stated with 100% certainty, but it is assumed that a so-called turbulent flow, that means a flow with numerous eddies in combination with the increased density of the air, leads to higher breathing resistance and thus to shortness of breath as well as to fluid accumulation, a so-called edema in the lungs. Here, but why are these devices sold and used at all if they pose such a serious risk? The answer is simple. In calm situations, these devices usually work perfectly. It is only when problems arise when you find yourself in a stressful situation and your breathing rate increases, that the problem described above occur as a result of the increased flow rate of the breathing gas. What is particularly treacherous and therefore worth mentioning is that the fact that all models function perfectly on the surface at all times, meaning that it is not possible to test in advance whether the flow stopper also works properly at depth or not. However, there is no need to worry and you do not need to take your regulators apart and check whether a flow stopper is installed or not. Manufacturers usually only install these devices in places where the gas flow rate is not relevant. Finally, I would like to emphasize one point. All regulators sold must have certificates of conformity for the combination of first stage, second stage and medium pressure hose. For this reason, individual parts from different manufacturers must not be combined. And this also applies to Flowstops. So if you really want to install a Flowstop, check beforehand whether a so-called COC, a certificate of conformity, is available for your individual configuration. If this is not the case, simply dive without the Flowstopper. That's it for today. I would be delighted if you would leave a like, a comment, or a subscription if you haven't already done so. And I wish you all time good air, and ciao.